Welcome back to the Lawn Hustle. I am your host, Andy Wilson. I own and operate professional lawn maintenance in Newcastle, Indiana. We have a guest with us today that needs no introduction to those in the green industry. Brian Fullerton with Brian's Lawn Maintenance. 72,500 followers on Instagram. 15,500 followers on TikTok, 231,000 subscribers to YouTube, and his podcast, Fullerton Unfiltered, has 3 million downloads. So I am excited that he is on my show. Brian, thank you for joining the Lawn Hustle.
Hey, you appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Humbling when you're reading those kind of stats off. I will tell you honestly, I don't even know where we're at on all those numbers. I don't really pay attention to them that much. I glance at them about once or twice a year, but that's a humbling following and really, really cool, to say the least. But thank you so much for having me on today, brother. Glad to be here. And at the end of the day, I'm just like anybody else listening into the show. I plow snow from here to there, and I make tall grass short, brother. So I'm just another guy hanging out with you guys today. But thank you so much for the introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. I am honored that you're with us. Let's jump right in here. I know you're married, have a family, kids. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, well, really simply, we're over here in the Brighton, Michigan area. It's about 40 minutes west of Detroit. We moved actually just in the last 12, 18 months. We're building our new construction home. So we got my beautiful wife, Liz. We've been married for 10 years since October 18th. So it always falls on Equip Expo week, which is always a fun conversation. And, I always say we're celebrating our anniversary with 30,000 of our best friends in the industry, right? So that's always a good time. Usually we end up going to a dinner sometime the week before, the week after, so we don't miss that special day. But then along the way, we've had 2 beautiful kids, hoping to have a few more. And what else? I've been doing lawn care for 17 years now. It's our 18th season going into next spring, which is wild. First 10, 12 years, not the most illustrious. Last 5 or 6 years, really starting to figure a couple things out. Still have a lot of ways to go, no doubt about it. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more today. But just humble beginnings, like neighborhood kid, push mowing grass. Ended up working at Little Caesars Corporation. Ended up working at TruGreen. That's when I decided to start my own lawn care business on the side. And it's been a journey ever since. And then started on social media in 2016, totally accidentally, to be completely honest with you. It's been a wild last 7, 8 years doing that. But we're still here, still somehow married, still somehow in business, and hanging in there. It's been a crazy journey. I wouldn't change a thing, but it's been a grind, brother. I'll tell you that.
Well, was there a pivotal moment that shaped you into who you are today and what you do today?
Well, that's a good question. That's a heavy question right off the bat, right? I mean, of course, there's always stuff like that along the way. I'd have to think for a second to give you like an answer that's probably as worthy of the question. I'm pretty simple dude. Like I grew up dirt poor. My mom, single mom, raising 3 kids. My dad was in our life, but then he passed away when I was younger. So I knew him, but I didn't really know him, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I would say like my mom is probably one of my first big influences, just working hard and just trying to figure it out. She never made more than like 30, 40 grand a year, as a single mom with 3 kids living in a trailer park. I mean, we always had shirts with holes in them, hand-me-downs, shoes with holes in them. There's a place up here in Michigan called Play It Again Sports. So it's like used hockey equipment. We were big into roller hockey. So all my skates and my sticks and my gloves were always like secondhand. We didn't think anything about it at the time. We were just kids trying to have fun, right? So I think probably my first influence would be like my mom, and then just blue collar, Michigan. We're hardworking people in the Midwest.
Right.
I know pretty much everybody across the country is, but when we say we came from absolutely nothing, I mean, we humbly came from absolutely nothing. My wife, her background, Dearborn, Michigan, pretty tough area, especially for a white girl, it's a heavy Middle Eastern Muslim, area of town. And so she had the same background. She was waitressing, by 16, 17, 18, doing hosting, at the hostess stand, and working at Buffalo Wild Wings, which is actually where we met. So you couldn't find probably more just regular, normal, humble people. We're nothing special. But along the way, a lot of values definitely informed, in my belief, hard work, you can change your stars. I always was a big dreamer. I don't know how or why. I just knew we could do more and we could be better.
Right.
So I'm not sure if that totally answers your question, but just normal people,
Sure. We used to say when I was growing up, I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and my dad wasn't in our lives a whole lot.
Sure.
But we used to say we're poor, but we're proud. So let me ask you this. You're obviously a social media influencer, and your impact has had an effect on hundreds, if not thousands, of lawn care professionals. Who influences you, and who is your mentor, and what have they done to make the same impact on your life as you are making on our lives?
Ooh, man, that's you have 2 of the best questions I've ever received on a podcast. Along the way, there's a couple people that I absolutely appreciate that are part of my story. There's a friend of mine. He was a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness. His name was Dennis. I talked about him on my podcast a long time ago. We're still buds to this day. He and I were talking one day about just making money. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. It was 20 years ago. But he put a book in my hand, or even suggested me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was 18, 19. I was working at Little Caesars, just trying to figure some things out. I got my gym membership at Lifetime Fitness. I don't even know how or why. And we were talking business and finances. Again, he was a personal trainer, so he was in sales. So he was kind of self-employed on the cash flow quadrant. And he said, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own gym one day. And he was just a good buddy. We just became friends. But he put a book in my hand called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you ever read that by chance, you?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a classic. It's probably the number 1 best-selling personal finance book. Best $20 you'll spend.
Okay.
But it really 2 things. One, it kind of presented the other side of being a business owner or an investor versus just being an employee or self-employed. And then number 2, it taught creating passive income or ongoing income or residual income. It just sounded enticing. Who doesn't want to get paid when they're sleeping, right? That whole deal. But really, it was the opportunity to own your own business. And my dad was a painter, so I always knew you could be self-employed, but I didn't really understand business ownership. And again, at the time, I was working at Little Caesars. I was running a corporate store, but let's just say it's a franchise. It was a corporate-owned franchise. But I had never met Mr. Illich. So, and I didn't know the P&L. I was a good store manager. I was making this guy $5-10 grand a month true net profit. And I was just thinking to myself, what a phenomenal business model or business opportunity, right? What better thing to do than have 3,000 stores all across the country, making you 5, 10, 20 grand a month.
Right.
Running $1 billion corporation, right? How cool is that? So I think Dennis was probably my first. Trying to think what else. My friend Jim Martino, he actually runs the AV at our conference. He was a friend I met at church. He's been super influential in my life. And then more recently, in the industries, my spiritual leader, if you will. And then more recently, Mark Bradley would be my business coach or mentor. But I've met so many great people on the way doing the shop tours, tens of thousands of people that listen in on the podcast that I've made friends with. There's no you've had a certain size business or revenue. It's nothing like that. It's just people that know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
And so that lately it's been Mark Bradley for me.
I enjoyed him at Equip at the morning show.
Oh, yeah. Did you get a chance to check him out?
Yes, sir. Enjoyed what he had to say. Took a lot of notes.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I still need to listen to that show. I haven't even got to it yet. It's been a wild couple of weeks moving into our house and out of our camper. And like you said, Equip and LAL. And then I've been on these masterminds with Mark going to a couple different cities. So, yeah, he's my guy right now. He's a phenomenal dude. Super brilliant individual. Yeah, he's my guy right now. But again, I've had guys all the people online, right? Like the Les Browns, the Darren Hardys, the Dan Martells, the Tony Robbins, like all these different people influenced my life big time. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Let me ask you this. Are there any misconceptions about our industry that you would like to clear up?
What was the first part? Some misconceptions?
Are there any misconceptions about our industry that you would like to clear up?
Give me one quick second here, okay? 1 second.
Sure.
Any misconceptions? I would say the first one would probably be that it's just for like the high school push out kind of kid. I just don't see it to be true. I know a lot of us get started maybe as that guy, but I know people that quote unquote enter into the industry to make money. Mark Bradley at his most recent mastermind said there's more millionaires that were made out of the landscape trade than any other trade out there. And that got me thinking. I mean, I'm not one to rebuttal that, but I'm thinking like, that's awesome if so, right? Like, how cool would that be? And I mean, everybody knows around town the guy that got started with, whether he's 18 or 25, it doesn't matter, but, got started with a truck and a mower and then grew to 5 crews and then to 10 crews, and they're doing $5 million and he's making 10%, taking care of his people and making a good income, like local success story. I think it's a very attainable business, and then I don't know too many other success stories in other industries like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially where you get the satisfaction of what we do, right? Like from landscaping to even mowing grass or even plowing snow. So I think misconception number one is like it's just for push outs. That's not the case. I know some of the smartest, sharpest, credentialed, all these different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like they're in the green industry. I mean, even from business owners to the company folks, the engineers that work at all the major brands, like the owners, like these people are very, very intelligent. And I just feel like it kind of gets looked down, on. And I think that's something that's a little frustrating. The other one, besides like that it's for the push-out kids, the fact that you can't make any money in the industry, like that's just not true. Like I can introduce you to thousands of people that make hundreds of thousands and dozens of people that make millions.
Absolutely.
So I don't know where that ever came from, but those are probably like maybe two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think, well, you're in lawn care because you couldn't find a job someplace else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just absolutely false because, like you said, we have the brightest and some of the most talented and most educated people in the industry. Yeah. And educated doesn't necessarily have to mean you have a college degree. I graduated from Indiana University, but that wasn't my degree. Lawn care wasn't my degree. I thought I wanted to be a social worker and help people. And I'm helping people today, but it's just in a different way. And I like to look at my involvement in my community as I'm working to help beautify my community and make a difference.
What was your background, by the way, at university?
Prior to my career in lawn care, I was a law enforcement officer.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I was a deputy sheriff for 10 years.
Oh, well, thanks for your service. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
There's so many guys that have side hustles, right, that are law enforcement officers, troopers, fire, EMS, nursing, municipality work, all the above, because there's a little bit more flex scheduling sometimes, so
right.
But yeah, I mean that's like one of like the biggest audiences that we have is just like fire, PD, school, municipality.
Yes, sir.
It's always tough because sometimes you get those golden handcuffs with retirement and pensions, but after you get your 20, 30 years in, a lot of guys 40, 50 years old, they start their own side hustle and they're doing $300,000 on the side, gross, making $50,000 net.
Right.
And as soon as they're done with their service, they hang it up and then they got a business to walk into and can still stay young and fresh and keep a strong back, So.
Yeah. Well, with any level of success, as well as I do, comes criticism. So my question to you, and Taylor Swift would tell us to just simply
shake, 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 shake it out, shake it out.
But it's not really that easy. sometimes because things bother us. Things get to us. We're human. And when people are critical, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't start a podcast when I initially wanted to, because I was scared of criticism with my voice. But I just had to realize that this is me. This is what cancer left me. And I'm just going to do it. So I jumped in with both feet. So let me ask you, and I know there's criticism, but how do you deal with it? And is there any advice you could give us on dealing with criticism?
Yeah, well, number one, I've never had anybody doing better than me criticize me.
Right.
So is the people that are at my pay grade or below. Right? I've heard another person say hurting people hurt people.
Yes, sir.
And then the last one I'll leave you with is, are they living the life that you want to live? Like somebody that's hating on you, like, do they have a perfect life? Do they have it all figured out? Like, is that person somebody whose life I would want or want to emulate? 99% of the chance, or 99% of the time is no.
Right.
So, like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. That's fair. That's great. That's what makes this country awesome. But, a criticism that's like merit-based, sure. I probably said stuff or recommended something or did something that I wasn't correct. It doesn't mean it was malicious intent. It just means I made a mistake.
Right.
The difference is that on social media, usually the person with the loudest mouth gets the most views.
Exactly.
And so that's just how it works, right?
Right.
So, and I get that, and that's fine, that's fair. And sometimes when you're out front, you're going to receive the criticism because you're the guy. Doesn't matter if you're doing social media, if you're the $90 million contract, for a baseball team that just bought their, new guy that's going to take them to the championship, or the all-star pitcher, the all-star center, the head coach. But we're paying this guy $15 million a year, $20 million a year, and he blew the game, the big game. Yeah, he's going to get criticism whether he wins or loses, by the way. So critics will always be out there, but one of my favorite lines is, like, there's never been a statue erected for a critic.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like, if you don't have them, and I say this with, like, a broad brush, but, like, if you don't have them, it's likely that you're not really doing anything noteworthy or worthwhile. Because out of nowhere, there's just, like, this serendipity to the universe. There's this yin and yang. Like, the minute you stick your head up above the crowd, like, you're going to get tomatoes thrown at you. And if you know that going into it, then when they start showing their head and you start getting those tomatoes, you just have to, like, know, like, that's just part of the progress and part of the process of being successful. I did not know all that at the beginning. Along the way, I was making videos about how to buy a better leaf blower, and people would criticize me along the way for whatever reason. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why do people have a problem with me talking about equipment online so
right.
we can make buying decisions? So admittedly, 99% of it's just loudmouth know-it-alls or people that are jealous or envious, and that's fair. That's fine. But I'm sure 1% has some true merit, and that's fair. That's fine. I admit my faults and mistakes. I'm human. But at the end of the day, like, when you're so busy winning, like, you don't really care about anybody criticizing you. Like,
that is so good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like one of my favorite lines, and I'm sure I got it from somebody, but, like, race cars don't have rear view mirrors because they're busy going forward. Like, who cares? Who cares?
Right.
Right. So it happens. So, like, first off, thanks for asking, like, my thoughts on it. But number two, like, great job for you to, like, overcome and face those fears or concerns, because usually fear and doubt steals more dreams than failure ever would.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're acting on, like, your ambitions and your calling, like, says volumes about you.
Yes, sir.
And what I heard somebody say once, like, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. So whether you have a working voice or a great face for YouTube, or you can carry on a conversation and do a podcast, like, if you felt led to do it, you'll figure it out along the way, and it'll be blessed because you're in the flow.
Yes, sir.
Right? So don't wait for all the stoplights to be green and go get yours.
Well, I think it's important for us to offer criticism without being critical. And, if your criticism of a job I done will help me do a better job the next time,
absolutely,
I'm not offended by that at all. I welcome that because I don't know it all. I'm not the best. I try to be the best I can be. And I tell people all the time, someone's got to be the best in Newcastle. It might as well be me. Someone's got to be the best in Michigan. It might as well be Brian. And I am completely and totally impressed with your business, with your family life, with the way you conduct yourself. You're a professional in every area. And that is not common in our industry. There's a lot of people that are unprofessional.
Well, I assure you, we have a lot of work to do still on ourselves. We're not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But I will tell you, and I appreciate the kind words, but I want to be better for everybody watching and listening and the industry itself, right? Like I was the low ball, chuck in a truck. I couldn't even spell lawn care, 20 years ago. I did everything wrong. So and this industry's been so kind, so generous, so forgiving. The online community's been, broadly speaking, so kind, so generous, so encouraging, right? As they've seen me kind of grow up in my business on online real time. Just what a phenomenal industry, what a phenomenal community, what a phenomenal thing to be a part of. I don't think you really find that in too many other industries. So
right.
If somebody has criticism, that's fine. If it's merited and it's warranted, fair. If it's criticism to be jealous or envious or deceitful, that's a you problem, But I will tell you what, I have no angst, ill will. I harbor nothing. I don't live that way. I'm a pretty chill dude in that regard. Just pray for those people, love on those people, and stay busy and stay focused. One of my favorite lines, and everybody has said it before, but what is it? Idleness is the devil's playground. So if people are having time to criticize, my snapback, my smugness would say, how do you have time to criticize? Aren't you busy winning?
Right.
That would be ultimate focus.
Yes, sir.
So that's why as a policy, you'll never hear me lash out or snap back at anybody. I just don't have time for it. We've done a lot of life the last 5-6 years, a lot of growing, a lot of winning, a lot of accomplishing. But that's because humbly speaking, we're ultra focused on what the goal is right now.
Right.
I couldn't care less what anybody has to say. They're not here to pay my bills. They're not going to hold my hand to the finish line. They're not going to take care of my kids if I get hit by a bus. So take your opinion and shove it. I don't care. We're winning. I don't care.
Laser focused.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's whether it's me doing all the crap that we're doing or Usain Bolt, running a 9.6 on a 100-yard dash,
right.
Or whatever. You have to be ultra focused.
Yeah.
So,
well, I want to be mindful of your time.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to be mindful of your time. I know you said you had a hard stop at 10:30.
Yeah. You're good.
We're about 2 minutes away. Could you tell us how can all of our listeners connect with you? And I want you to know I respect you, and I feel like now we're friends.
Yeah. Well, Hugh, first off, again, I'm always humbled when somebody asks me to be on their show. Sometimes I get offered a lot less invites because I speak my mind. So I do appreciate you giving me the latitude to share how I feel and what I think and what I believe. But yeah, really simply, you can find everything that we do online, Brian's All Maintenance, pretty much YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. What else? We have a podcast, Police Unfiltered podcast. It's been a blessing to be able to pour into people, for sure. What a humbling experience. But if you guys ever see us at a trade show or a conference, please say, hey, I'm a regular dude. Don't do the awkward, you stare at me, we lock eyes and then walk away. Hey, that's that guy. No, dude, stop by, come say, hey, I want to meet you as much as you want to meet me. Believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert, hardcore.
Yeah.
So you'll probably have to come say hey to me before I come say hey to you. Not because I'm proud, it's just because I'm a closeted, kind of quiet dude, broadly speaking. So anybody who's ever said hey to me, just know it made my day. And again, thank you for even asking me to be on the show today. What a phenomenal opportunity to just maybe give some people some encouragement out there.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure our listeners has gained some valuable insight from today's podcast. And hopefully in the future I can have you back on. I have a lot of more questions to ask, but I appreciate you today. I hope you have a blessed day. And until we talk again, God bless you. And I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the Lawn Hustle.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine, brother. Thank you so much for having me. And we'll definitely run it back. Thank you. I got you.
All right. You have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thanks, you.
Bye-bye.